Morning from Indonesia. Hello everyone. How are you guys doing today? Her Excellency, our speaker, Miss Mary, Honorable the founder of Pendawa English Center, Mr. Alan Wari and Mr. Muhammad Saleh Harun, respectable the founder of Pondok Pendawa, Mr. Imam Safei MPD, respectable the lecturers of the University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia, and all of participants of this webinar. Firstly, let's thanks to the God who has given us some mercies and blessings so we can attend this webinar without any troubles and obstacles. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ernawati Harun. It is an awesome and precious change for me to be your master of ceremony in this morning. This webinar is conducted with cooperation BSM, Pendawa English Center, and Forbes, Forum for Better English Skills. And our webinar today will discuss about how to build personal and professional self-branding in the digital era. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our seminar today, let's open by pray together based on our personal belief. Pray begin. Thank you. Next step on the following agenda are speeches. The first is welcoming speech from Siti Sylvia as the Chief Executive of this webinar. Siti Sylvia, time is yours.
Well, everyone. Thank you for having me dear your highness, excellent friends and colleagues, especially our speaker, Miss Mary, as well as Mr. Imam as the founder of Pondok Pendawa, and also Mr. Sukanto and Miss Ardia as the lecturer of Nahdlatul Ulama University. Thank you for the participant for joining us today, and also my best teamwork to make this webinar really happen. Well, actually, I and Mary are good friends. We met in Al-Kahfi Intercultural Youth Festival 2019. I have a good time with her until somehow I pretend her as my second mom. Yeah, that's so funny. Yes, I'm so happy, blessed, honored, and feel like I am on the top of the world now. So thank you, Mary, for joining us today and spacing out your crazy busy time to meet me, of course. Well, today I feel so happy and blessed because I am as the chief executive this webinar. Do realize that without your dedication to work together, this webinar will not happen. So this webinar will talk about how to build your personal and professional self-branding in the digital era. So we as the millennial youth must be prepare ourselves to be professional person, and we can pass this era with a good preparation. Well, maybe that's enough from me. I say enjoy this webinar. Please don't forget, grab a cup of coffee for yourself. And the last, I say adios. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Siti Sylvia. The second is welcoming speech from the founder of Pendawa English Center, Mr. Ahmad. Mr. Ahmad, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my deep thanks to each of everyone here that for me already take a part to make this webinar succeed, especially for my best friend, Marielle Butters, PhD, the lecturer of historical language at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Thank you, Mary, for doing this to me because it means a lot for my community, for my small communities that I have been taking care of. And of course, it is also such an honor for me to find you again through the Zoom application meeting since a few years ago before you finish your research here in Indonesia. I wish you all the best, Mary. And also, Your Honor, Mr. Imam Safi'i, that actually very sad could not join our meeting today. He is the founder of Pondok Pendawa Pesantren. Pondok Pendawa. Pesantren is actually like the Islamic dorm for the Islamic students, but don't get me wrong, because here we study everything that we want to, so we don't limit to Islamic stuff only. Thank you so much, Mr. Imam, and also your kindness, the lecturers from the University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia, who have been really great and kind to attend our webinar as well. And I'm so happy to be the part of this university because from UNUSIA or the University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia, I may open my network and relation not only in Indonesia but also the international network. As recently, I take a part with to be the committee of Al-Kahfi Intercultural Youth Festival, become the Global Youth Ambassador, and join and Youth Leader Peace Organization, Global Youth Leadership Project, and then the International Model United Nation 38 and even take a short course from Harvard University lately. This is the part where I consider that the existence of technology in our life nowadays is very beautiful if we know how to manage it well. And also the respectable all of my friends that have been attending this webinar as well, which coming from several countries. And here my lovely partners from Pundawa English Center and then Forbes Unusia. Forbes is actually Forum for Better English Skill. And also Islamic Student Executive Board of Pondok Pendawa, BS, for the great cooperation until we could really make it happen. Well, back to several years ago when I was chosen to be the president of Forbes Unusia, before I make Pendawa English Center community, I have been feeling very blessed to meet and experience a lot from other perspective, which form and shape my character. I remember the day when I tried to communicate to Mary about my team and my vision doing the Pendawa English Center stuff, which finally my team and I focus with our vision that is foster diversity through equality in education, gender, and age. I know this issue is the issue that happen in everywhere. Like the equality is something that we have to pursue, we have to work through, and we have to do together to have and to build the peace life. Now we are still making it happen. We try to break the boundaries and barriers among us to have the position and also dream that we want in our life as what we choose. I personally feel very blessed until I don't know how to frame the feeling to beautiful word now. It is all because of the hard work and the teamwork. The more we believe in other capacity, the easier our life is going to be. I mean, I could talk for all day long, but this is not actually the main agenda. So I think this is enough from me. Once again, thank you so much, everyone. God bless you all, and good morning from Indonesia. Have a nice moment.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmad, for the welcoming speech. The third is welcoming speech from the University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia. Mr. Sukamto, time is yours.
Mr. Sukamto, I think you're muted.
Mr. Sukamto, are you here?
Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Dr. Badr and everybody participating in this meeting. The first thing I'd like to say is that this topic, how to build personal and professional self branding in the digital era is a new thing in Indonesia. Yeah, once again, it's new thing, not only for millennial generation, but also for baby boomer generation or obsolete generation such as me. The first thing, it is therefore very important for you, for me, that skill and knowledge given by Dr. Butter will be very useful for us. The third, thank you for Dr. Butter for sharing your skill and knowledge for this meeting. And I think will be useful for Indonesian young generation. And finally, good job for Pandawa English Center team conducting this meeting this morning. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mr. Sukamto, thank you for the welcoming speech. And the last is welcoming speech from Ms. Roisatun Nisa, the lecturer of the University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia.
Okay,
Ms.
thank you,
Roisatun Nisa,
Anna.
time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Anna, and hello, everybody. Good morning, Miss Mary. It's a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of the second international webinar. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Mrs. Mary Butters, PhD, for accepting the invitation on how to build personal and professional branding in the digital era webinar this morning. Thank you, Miss. Miss Mary is a lecturer of historical linguistics of the University of Colorado. Is it correct, Miss? Yeah. Thank you, Miss, for taking the time for share with us. On behalf of my institution, University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia, I really support these activities. I hope this will continue annually because it's really useful to upgrade, especially for my students and all the participants in this webinar, to upgrade your skills, and it's very, very useful for your future. I'm compelled to all webinar participants to pay attention with what will Miss Mary lesson today. And I think that's enough for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Roisatun Nisa, for the welcoming speech. As we have finished our opening, to lead the next session, I'd like to introduce Mr. Suparman as the moderator of this webinar.
Thank you, Victoria. Good morning from Indonesia, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Anyway, before I talk more, I will say thank you so much for your time. And finally, I thank you all interested in this really great webinar. I really want to that already work really hard to make this webinar happen in this kind of situation. Though the lockdown in each of our country is somehow suck, but we will still be able to catch up together here. Of course, to know each other, learn together, and also build the network. By the way, I'm Suparman from Indonesia, and actually I'm doing my bachelor degree now at the University of Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia, and taking agriculture major. Here, in this really best opportunity, I'm as the moderator will help carry out today's event. I hope you are ready to listen to this interesting topic, which is how to build personal and professional self-branding in the digital era. As you know, brands are not only owned by companies and products. Many people are obligated to have this for themselves. Because we come to work is for any reason, and for me, striving and making our legacy become one of the reasons we live in the world now. And I see that as how we try to put the best effort in making our legacy as well as our self-personal branding. Indeed, as the personal branding will help someone to be recognized by someone and become and become the main attract in a social environment. As a matter of the fact, personal branding is a way to introduce people to a person's personal character, areas of expertise and interest, as well as special things such as communication style, word through speech, writing, and body language, which ultimately aims to form a positive perception on the part of people, everyone who meets and observes us. This is important because it will form one's character which is different from others, making it easier to compete in careers and also to attract people's attention to work together. And for more detail, it will be discussed by today's speaker. Today's speaker, and she is Mariel Butters, PhD, from Colorado, the United States of America. But before that, I'd like to read the curriculum vitae of our great speaker today. Name, Mariel Butter, PhD. Email, marina.butter@gmail.com and metal.butter@colorado.edu. Current position, Lecturer of Historical Linguistics at University of Colorado at Boulder. Senior Linguistic Data Specialist for Bahasa Indonesia with Transferred Language. Research and Analysis Intern and Napanti Group. Education, PhD in Linguistics at University of Colorado at Boulder. Graduate May 2021, dissertation negation in four languages of Indonesia. Triple BAS in Linguistics, Anthropology, and Psychology at University of Colorado at Boulder, graduate May 2012. Languages, English, Indonesian, Advanced French, Intermediate Tibetan, Intermediate Sundanese, and also Basic Mandarin. Research experience, negation and language documentation of Sundanese, How and Enggano, January 2020 to April 2020. Self-directed funded by the American Institute for Indonesian Studies, IFIS. Documentation and description of Sundanese language in Ciptagelar, West Java, June 2019 to August 2019. Self-directed funded by Boren Fellowship in collaboration with University in Indonesia. Documentation and description of Enggano language on Enggano Island, Indonesia, in collaboration with Atma Jaya Catholic University in Indonesia. Language documentation training in East Indonesia, June 2018 to August 2018. SS, grant through University of Delaware and Atma Jaya Catholic University in Indonesia. Directed by Dr. Gabriel Herman, Dr. Peter Cole of University of Delaware, and Yanti of Atma Jaya Catholic University. I'm sorry if I mispronounce the name. Research assistant with Static Migration Project, August 2015 to May 2017. It grant through the University of Colorado at Boulder, directed by Dr. Jaiman Prajinger. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce also. Recent awards, Beverly Search Graduate Student Grant Award 2020, CARTSS Award, Center to Advance Research and Training in the Social Science, Spring 2020. Laura Bassi, Scholarship for Partial Publication Funding 2020, Scholarship, IFIS, the American Institute for Indonesian Studies, Spring 2020. Boren Fellowship, August 2018 to August 2019. Publication, Borders, AIM, 2021 in preparation, How Our Oral Narrative, Remember Narrative. Borders, AIM, 2021 in final preparation, the extension of Tibetan monsoon verbs, Yongtam and go into other function domains. And also for Ginger, Z and Brothers aim 2020, the emergence of functional in language, Oxford University Press. Invited presentation, sharing of research results, fieldwork, connection in Sundanese, and how. April 21, 2020, Universitas Katolik Indonesia Atmajaya in coordination with IFIS. Plenary speaker, the negative existential cycle in a collection of Australian languages, September 17, 2020, Kolita 18, Universitas Katolik Indonesia Atmajaya. Conference presentation. Language of the goddess in a Sundanese village of West Java. Paper presented at the IP's MSU Conference of Indonesian Studies, Paradigm and New Frontiers, June 23 to 26, 2021. Reputation and the growth rate in how narrative, May 19 to May 22, 2021. International Conference on Narrative Presenter and Head of Panel on Oral Narrative. And the list goes on. University level teaching experience at CU Boulder, link 1020 languages of the world. 7 semester as instructor of record, 2 semester as teaching assistant. Link 2000 introduction to linguistics, 2 semester as teaching assistant, and link 1000 language is US society, 1 semester as teaching assistant, and link 5430 semantic and pragmatic, 2 semesters as grader. Consulting or workshop experience, the language conference served as a scribe for a dictionary project on Stone Nakoda, June 14 to June 25, 2021. Recent certificate in college teaching, TCT, at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Culture, language, and social practice, CLASP, at the University of Colorado at Boulder. TPL, teaching English as a foreign language, certificate for global language. Okay, without any further ado, Mary, time is yours now.
Thank you so much, Superman. That was a really, really nice recitation. And I also want to convey my thanks to everyone here for joining this talk and also for inviting me to be part of this. I'm deeply, deeply grateful to be talking to all of you. I know a lot of you are in Indonesia, but some of you are in other parts of the world. It's really great to see so many faces. I know a lot of us have been locked down during COVID or haven't been able to see our friends. So this is a really good opportunity for us to be together. I'm really, really impressed by the community that has been built around English learning here. And this is a really, really good forum for all of us to learn from one another and to practice together. So once again, thank you to all of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. So hopefully you'll be able to see it all right. So as you know, the topic of our discussion today is how to build personal and professional self-branding in the digital era. And now this is something that is very important to all of us. It doesn't matter what country we're from, how old we are, what sort of jobs that we do. All of us can bring some kind of personal touch into what we do in our day-to-day lives. So I'm going to start out with a discussion of something that might seem a little bit strange to you, but I promise that it's going to connect back into the discussion of personal branding. So we're going to start talking about soap. So I want you to imagine that you want to start your own little business. Let's say that you are really, really crafty and you've figured out how to make your own soap. Your soaps are colorful, they have lots of different good smells. They're really, really different from what other people have been doing. And so let's say that you want to decide how to go about building a brand for the soap that you're going to start marketing to customers. There might be some different steps that you'll take. Perhaps the first step that you'll take is that you'll identify your target audience and your competitors. So your target audience, as you may or may not know, are the people who you imagine will be buying your product. So is it going to be housewives? Is it going to be teachers? Is it going to be teenage boys? Is it going to be maybe people who work in restaurants? Who is that audience that you're trying to focus on? The other one that you'll want to identify is your competitors. Who are you competing against? Your second step is to pick your focus and how to bring in your personality. So you are creating a product. It would be boring if you just made it the same as everybody else's, right? So you want to try to find a way to make it stand out. Third, you might want to pick a name. You want to have some kind of way that people can refer to your product. It would be really difficult if people always said, oh, Marielle's soap, which is purple. It would be much easier if you just created a name that people could use to talk about your product. The fourth step, we might create a slogan. So a slogan would be just a short little catchphrase that you could use to refer to your product. So if we look at commercials for all kinds of products that are marketed, there might be some little way to help you remember that product. You see this a lot with food items. The fifth would be to choose the look of your brand. How are you going to package it? How are you going to make it stand out so that people want to buy it? The sixth is to design your logo. So it's not enough just to have a name. You might want to have some kind of design that goes with your name. And then you want to apply the branding to all areas of your business. So what I mean here is that you don't just have that brand on the soap that you're selling, but you also put that brand on business cards or maybe some kind of poster that you're using to advertise. You try to make it reach a broader audience. So if we're looking at the target audience for soap, are you thinking you might want to target people who like to avoid harmful chemicals? Maybe people who prefer something that's organic. A lot of the soap that we buy maybe has chemicals that are not good for our skin. So maybe you have a great idea that you're going to use items from home to make soap that's a little bit healthier. Are you targeting people who are looking to buy a special gift? Are you targeting just women or just men? And who are your competitors? Are there other people who are making homemade soap that's as good or similar to the soap that you're making? So let's say that as you're coming up with your ideas for your soap, you want to bring in your personality. And in doing this, you might come up with a specific shape or specific ingredients that might set you apart from other people. You might use special packaging. And what you want to do here is really identify a way to be different from what other people are doing. So as you can see with the soap idea that I have here, we're kind of going with a honey theme. So we've decided that in order to be different from our competitors, our soap is going to really, really focus on the theme of honey, of bees, of natural ingredients like that. You then want to identify the name. So maybe you could kind of come up with some playful ideas like honey suds soap, honey slather soap, bees knees soap, bees wash soap, honeycomb soap. Notice all of these give you some kind of idea of what is special about that product. Then we go into picking a slogan. So we might say something like, for the better bees among you, to keep your hive clean, bringing you nature's sweetness, because you need it, and so forth. So your slogan is going to be kind of this little catchphrase that you're going to use to help people remember your product. And then we come to the look of your brand. So how are you going to package it? Are you going to have it be shaped like this? Are you going to have it in more of a square package or a round package? Is the paper going to cover the whole soap, or are you going to just use some ribbon instead of the packaging? What colors are you going to use? Here, this person used yellow packaging, which maybe makes us think more about honey, but maybe you decide to use a bright red or something that's going to be more eye-catching. What materials do you want to use? Paper or cloth or clay or some other material like that? How's the texture going to be? Is it going to be soft to touch? Is it going to be more rough? Will you tie it off with a string or a ribbon, or will you leave it plain like this person did in this picture? Will there be any kind of special stickers that you'll add on? And then we design the logo. So you want to pick something eye-catching. So with this logo example that we have here, it's a bee, of course. And so that gives the audience a very clear idea about what is special about this type of soap. You also want to pick something that's easy to reproduce. You don't want to pick a complicated design that you have to hand draw every time yourself. You might want to pick something that can be more easily stamped on or create a sticker, something like that. And you want it to stand out from what other people have done. So you don't want it to be exactly the same or too similar to what's already out there. And then finally, we want to start applying that brand everywhere. So you're using your brand to advertise business cards, flyers, posters, store windows. If you have a shop, if you don't have your own shop, maybe you're selling out of somebody else's shop and they allow you to put some posters there. And then on the merchandise, what you're actually selling. And then nowadays, I think it's a little bit more common for us to have websites instead of shops and physical locations. So if you had some kind of online website, you'd want to have that branding there as well. Okay, so wait a second. Why is it that I'm talking about soap when this presentation is supposed to be about personal branding? Well, it turns out that when you're doing personal branding, you follow really, really similar steps to what you would do if you were marketing anything else. So just like if you were marketing your special soap, when you're thinking about how to market yourself as an individual, you're going to follow these same steps, more or less. Some of the details are a little bit different. You're going to think about your target audience. Who is it that you're trying to impress with your credentials? Who is it that you're competing against? So let's say that you finish your undergraduate degree in English, but there's a lot of other people who have an undergraduate degree in English. In a way, those people are your competitors. So you're thinking about how to set yourself up apart from those people. When you're branding yourself, you're also thinking about how to pull your personality into what you're doing. The name is yourself typically, but you might think about how to change your name slightly in some cases in order to appeal to different audiences. You're going to pick a slogan. Now the slogan, and oftentimes is going to be sort of a summary sentence of yourself underneath your name, maybe on a Facebook website or LinkedIn. You'll think about the look of your brand. What sort of way are you advertising yourself online? You may or may not have a logo. Sometimes the logo is more of just certain font or colors that you use to write your name. And then you want to apply this branding all over the place. So you want to have your branding on your social media websites. You want to have it in the tagline of your email. You want to have it across your CV. You want there to be this uniformity or this sameness across all of the different ways that people can access you. So personal branding, what is it? Basically, personal branding is what shapes the perception of an individual in the eyes of the public. So most of the people in the world have never met you. Believe me, they're missing out because you're all great people, but most people have never met you. And so it's your job to create how they're thinking about you when they come across your name for the first time. It's also creating an image of yourself for the outside world and marketing yourself as an individual rather than just the member of some group. You can also think about personal branding as the story that is told about you when you are not in the room. And that's the one that I like the best. So imagine your close friends, your classmates, your coworkers. What do they say about you when you're not there? Are they saying positive things? Are they saying some negative things? I'm sure for all of us, there's some combination of positive and negative, but hopefully most of those comments are positive. And so what do people say about you when you are at work? It might be something like, oh, she's the most hardworking person at our office. Or, oh, he's a bit of a perfectionist. She always has the most creative ideas. He is always the first one in the office each day. And so there are different adjectives or descriptive words that people might be using to describe you. And not all of these are good or bad. Sometimes they're a little bit more neutral. So maybe quiet or outgoing, friendly, talkative, diligent, or hardworking. These are the kind of adjectives you want to be thinking about when you're thinking about how to craft your own personal brand. So personal branding allows you to be the one who's telling the story that you want to be told. So here we have a older man, a storyteller, talking to these young kids. This is you on the right, this man with his arm held out. You're telling the story about yourself to the world. It allows you to establish yourself as an expert and a leader in your field, whatever your field might be. And it also allows you to connect with clients or customers or students or whoever the people are who will be seeking your advice or information. And so Anna Lundberg is a business coach, and she has this personal brand framework that I really like. And maybe this is something, maybe not now, but at some point later when you have time, you might want to draw something like this personal brand framework, and notice the way that she's organized it. At the very top, in this top triangle, she writes, my purpose. And for her, her purpose is finding and living my own definition of success and helping others to do the same. Now, your purpose might be different. Your purpose might be making my parents happy and proud of me, or your purpose might be mastering English, or your purpose might be living in another country. All of our purposes can be different, and that's totally fine. But whatever your purpose is, that really, really helps you to narrow in on your own personal brand and what sets you apart from others. This second part of the triangle here says my core values. So she's listed curiosity, courage, trust in myself, balance, self-compassion. So those are the things that you really find most important. Those are the things that you could not live without. And so for her, if she doesn't trust in herself, there's something wrong in her heart, something that doesn't feel quite right. Same thing, if she's not curious, then she's just not quite herself. Down on the third line, I like how on the left here, she has her strengths, and on the right, she has her skills. Sometimes we tend to conflate those two categories or pretend like they're the same thing, but actually they can be different. Your strengths can be more of those adjectives about the quality or personality that you have that people like about you. And your skills are more about what you have learned through school or through hard work, through work experiences that make you very desirable as somebody that could be hired for a job. Down here, credibility. So this is basically like different points on your CV. So she talks about her university degrees, her 7 years of work at a certain company, creating her own business, training, the things that people say about her. So this again could be different for you, and it could be different depending on what type of work that you do. And then this part at the bottom, tangible brand elements. So these are ways that she thinks about basically the little tagline that make up her brand. So for example, personal coach, speaker, and writer. So those are just the 3 things that really, really sum her up as a person or as her skill set as a person. And so that tangible brand element, if you could think of maybe 3 or 4 words that really sum up your skill set, who you are as a person, that's where that would go. Okay, so moving on a little bit more about figuring out how to make our own personal brand. One thing that I really want to emphasize is that it's important to look at what Google says about us. And one reason for that is that 70% of employers use Google and other social media to review an applicant who's applying for a job. So if you're sending in a job application or an application for a university, there's a really high chance that somebody from that organization is going to do a quick Google search of you and see what kind of person you appear to be based on what comes up on the internet. So one thing you can do is Google yourself and see what comes up first, which photos show up of you first in Google Images. Now, of course, this is going to depend. For people who have very unusual names, maybe there's photos of you from 10 years ago that immediately show up. For people who have less unusual names, then maybe it's a little bit harder to find information about yourself, and you have to work a little bit more to make your presence felt. So this is a fun one. I want you to ask yourself what story you are telling about yourself on your social media. I don't know that this man here on the right is telling the best story about himself if he posts this picture as his Facebook profile. And so it's really, really important to be careful what you post on the internet because it's permanent. It's there forever. Facebook has a deal where even if you delete a photo, the organization has it forever. So always think twice before you post something on social media, because once it's there, it's always going to be there. And it's always going to be something that people have seen. It's possible that a screenshot is taken of it as well, even if you delete it yourself. And so you might ask yourself some questions like, are you posting too much about politics or other sensitive matters? So some very sensitive matters include politics, religion. You don't necessarily want to be showing those opinions too much on social media. Do you have too many selfies? Now, this might seem like a strange one, but too many selfies might not look great to the outside world because it might look as if you are somebody who's showing off too much. Are you starting fights with Facebook comments? So are you the kind of person where somebody posts something and you immediately have to write a comment and say, oh, you're completely wrong, I disagree with you? Or are you the kind of person who just sort of says, okay, let it go. Maybe sometime we can talk about it in person. Because again, once you write that comment, those words are always there. And then are there pictures that you would not want an employer to see? So pictures like this one that we have here on the right, probably don't want an employer to see that. But there could be all kinds of reasons why you might not want employers to see certain pictures. It might show you doing activities that you don't want the employer to see. It might show you connected with people you don't want them to know that you're connected to, and many, many other reasons beside that. So one thing you can do right away is to purge your social media or to clean out anything that you think is not professional. Sometimes people don't like to do that too much, and they prefer to just have a personal Facebook and really, really strong privacy settings, and then social media that's just for business. And that's fine as well. In terms of just business, LinkedIn is really great. You can invest in a personal or a professional photo, customize your headline. So your headline is kind of like your slogan that we were talking about with the soap, where it really summarizes who you are as an individual. You can write a compelling summary. You don't want your summary to be too long. Most people, when they're glancing at profiles, they might not read something that's longer than a paragraph. So you really want to find a way to write a summary of yourself in 3 to 4 sentences that really gets at the heart of who you are. And then elaborate on your work history. So the headline and the summary and the photo, those are all things to pull somebody in. Once you've pulled them in, then down at the bottom, you can give more information and more detail about your specific work history. And you can basically have your entire CV there on LinkedIn. So anyone who was looking you up could immediately see that information. But of course, always be careful about publishing too personal of information like addresses and phone numbers, because you never know what type of people might get a hold of your information. Another thing you can do on LinkedIn is get testimonials from past employers. So a past employer or a past professor could go on to your LinkedIn and say, yes, so-and-so was a wonderful, hardworking student. Or yes, this person really, really showed up at work every day with a smile on their face. Anything like that also really improves your look on social media, because of course, all of us could make up some stuff. We could add in details that are maybe not as true as they could be. But once you have those testimonials, it really helps. And then you can also add in key skills. And then beside the social media component that we've been talking about, I don't want you to forget about good old-fashioned networking. So actually going out and putting yourself in situations where you're going to interact with people face to face. When we interact with people face to face, we pick up so much more about that person than we ever can over the internet, even over a Zoom call. Because when you're in person, you're picking up on body language, you're learning something about the way that they interact with others that you can't get as easily online. So it's really interesting and important to put yourself into these situations. And one way that you can do this is to stay in touch with existing contacts. So if you meet somebody and you feel like you really connect with them in a good way, and maybe they are doing something that you admire, you can stay in touch with them, reach out every once in a while and say, hi, how are you doing? What is new with you? And just maintain that bridge between you and that person. Another thing you can do is if you're at a conference or some other kind of event, maybe a presentation at university, speak to strangers, introduce yourselves. Typically people are looking to talk to others. And so they're always happy when you come up to them and strike up a conversation. Look for opportunities to speak and share your content. So if you feel like you have something you want to say to the world, or you have some kind of skill, try to find different platforms where you can share that information. I think the English community that you've developed is really, really great for this. It's an excellent platform for people to come together and share different ideas and allow everybody to grow from those experiences. And then look for ways to add value. So maybe you're looking at the world and you see that there's something missing. You see that, for example, maybe in Indonesia, there's less opportunities to speak English. And so you say, okay, we need to create some kind of way for people to come together and have that kind of practice and build their confidence. And so you're looking at a gap in a situation or something that's missing and finding ways to improve upon it. And then have some business cards on hand. It's always good to be able to just hand over to people. It's a little bit less awkward than phone numbers. Phone numbers are, of course, fine if you pull out your phones, but business cards are much faster. Okay, so in this last part of the talk, I just want us to look over a couple examples of websites where people have done some personal branding. So in this first one, we're looking at Amy Porterfield, who is an online marketing educator. And so online marketing educator is essentially her brand. And so everything that she's doing with her website here is designed to convey that image of what an online marketing educator should be, plus with a little bit of extra individual touches. So in her case, she's got this photo where she's holding a cup, maybe of tea or coffee. And so that gives us a little bit of a personalized touch about who she is. We can also see from some of her little taglines here, like, hey there, written in this really casual script, that maybe she's someone who's very friendly, who's very casual, who's very approachable. Especially with this really, really simple intro. Hi, I'm Amy. And then she has this little blurb, this summary that allows her to pull in her audience and have them read a little bit more about her as they scroll down the page. If we look at this one, it's quite different. Gary Vaynerchuk, who is the founder and CEO. He's using very dark, dramatic colors. He's showing himself apparently on a stage in front of an audience. This might convey the image of somebody who is very proactive, who is very courageous, who is in a leadership role. And he does that as well with these very bold texts in black and white with the capital letters. So notice how any of these little details about fonts and colors and design are very, very important in how we craft the image of ourselves. Here's another, April Dunford, positioning consultant, speaker, and author. So she's a speaker. It's important then that her picture shows the audience. Notice that a lot of the audience look very enraptured or very interested in what she's saying. So that was a good picture to choose. And then she also has these more bright and interesting colors up at the top. And then the wide white colors here that really, really get your interest about her tagline. Jessica Hish, lettering artist and author. This one's fun. So since she is an artist who actually designs these really playful letters, it makes sense that as her name, she also has this pink and very swirly, playful way of writing her name, and also a lot of different colors. Even in this little blurb that she puts at the bottom, she uses that capital T that's huge next to the smaller letters, just like in traditional storytelling. So she brings in these metaphors about books into what she's doing as her career. I think this is the last one, Saeed Balki, entrepreneur, investor, and marketing expert. He looks like an expert. The way that he is standing there on the stage, it sort of looks like he's in a spotlight. The colors are very nuanced. He's got the darker colors here and then the lighter of the spotlight over him. And then again, these very, very dramatic colors, different focus on, sorry about that, on what he is using italics for. And then also this nice little blurb here with certain parts in bold. Okay, one more, Marie Forleo, entrepreneur and best-selling author. Notice that this really stands out, the way that she uses underline in some points, italicized letters in other, and then a very, very simple picture where she's looking off. All of these things are strategies to draw in the eye and increase your audience. So in conclusion, I want to give you this quote. It's a little cheesy maybe, but it's a good thing to remember. You are the artist of your own life. Don't hand the paintbrush to anyone else. You're in charge of creating the image of yourself that you want to convey to the world. You can create that however you wish. You could make it in a negative way if you are not too careful, but you have all the responsibility and the capability to show yourself the way that you want to the world. And so that concludes this talk. Thank you again for your time and your attention. I see that we have a raised hand, but I will defer to the moderators in terms of how we will take questions.
Wow, such a good explanation. What I got from her explanation is self-branding is the process of marketing oneself and one's career through an image that is formed for the general public. In a way that demonstrates what unique solution you can support. Okay, now we will go to the next section, which is the question and answer section. So I am going to give free change for the participants that want to ask any question from the topic that has been explained. You may raise your hand first, and then the first that I mention, his or her name, may unmute yourself to ask your question. Clear enough, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Saleh Harun, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear my, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so I love the statement at the very last of your presentation, which you said that we are in charge to create ourselves to be known by other people in the world. So from the psychology side, I saw that some people are being very easy to connect with the people surrounding him or her, but somehow there are other people that seems like very hard to connect with other people. Like they try to talk, but they have no like braveness or something else that they want to pursue for. So my question is, in this case, when, for example, I become the person that have no ability to talk to the people or try to introduce myself to the people that I want them to know me, how can I brand myself to the people? So because I don't want my personal branding is the quiet or the person that don't know how to talk. So my question is, how am I going to do with myself easy? Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a great question. I think the first thing that I'll say is to remember that everybody's different, and that if you're somebody who's a little bit quieter, then you don't have to necessarily force yourself to be somebody that you're not. Because again, at the end of the day, it's personal branding. So you want to be unique, you want to be an individual. I understand your question. You don't want to be branded as the person who doesn't talk at all. That's not good, but you want to try to find the middle ground. So maybe you're somebody who's a little bit quieter, but when you do speak, you say something that really, really contributes to the conversation. Or maybe you are in a group and maybe you listen 90% of the time. But then when you speak 10% of the time, you say something that really moves the conversation forward. For me as well, like most of my life, I've been a very shy person. But as a professor, I have to get in front of 100 people and speak. And so sometimes it's about finding a place inside of your heart or inside of your head where you feel a little bit more comfortable to do that. And especially if you're doing something that you're passionate about and that you feel really interested in, it can usually be a little bit easier to speak out than if you're talking about something that you're not so interested in anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please.
Good.
Okay, next question, please.
Also, for any of the Indonesians, if you feel more comfortable to say your question in Indonesian, that's fine too.
Oke teman-teman yang di sini, jika ingin bertanya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia juga dipersilahkan, karena Mary juga paham dan mengerti. Okay, if not, if someone wants to ask something, maybe I want to ask Mary, how can I to improve my potential to be better, or like if I want to have something good, but when I child, I always get bullying from my friends, or maybe we can or you can say my close friends. So I think that's a big problem for myself, especially maybe for others friend also like that. So the point, how can I do it well like that? Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you. Yeah, I think for a lot of us, when we were children, we had friends that liked to bully us or tease us if we had some ideas that they thought were crazy or didn't make sense. Maybe if the friends are bullying too much, maybe one question we might ask is this a good friend for me? If this person is not supporting me with what I want to do, is this person a good friend for me? And this is something not just when we're children, but when we're adults as well. We want our friends to be people who are helping us to come up rather than pushing us down. But that being said, of course, all friends tease a little bit. And so I think at the end of the day, if you really want to do something, even your friend teases you, you can find a way to tease them back. So for example, let's say that you want to do your master's degree or your PhD, and they say something like, "Oh, professor," or something like that. You can just tease them back and say, "Yes, I'm the professor, you're my student," or you find a way to put the joke on them. And sometimes that can help with those kind of situations. I'm not sure if that helps.
Wow, great answer. I like it. Thank you, Mary.
Of course.
Okay, next question. Maybe the last question.
Mat, saya mau tanya kok terjemah dulu, Mat.
I want to ask something to you.
Mat, saya mau tanya kok terjemah dulu nanti ya.
The existence of technology as it could affect in positive or negative way. Thank you.
Mat, kok dengar saya kesonde, kok terjemah ke saya dulu.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the beginning of your question?
Ulang. Okay. How can be right the existence of technology as it could affect in positive or negative way?
How can we write the what?
She was asking how can she deal with the existence of the technology.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
because it affects in positive and negative way.
That's a great question, Ify, and I'm sorry to make you repeat it's not your English, it's the audio. So yes, that's a good question, because in many ways technology is both a friend and an enemy. I think for all of us, sometimes we spend too much time, on our phones, looking at what other people are posting, scrolling through Facebook. And to a certain extent, those things can be negative, especially if you take things a little bit too personally, or if you start to compare yourself to other people. But I think the positive thing that you can bring from it is maybe you see that your friends are doing something that is positive for them, or they're meeting their goals in some ways. And you can take inspiration from that as well. And you can say, okay, so they were able to do this that they really dreamed about. I can do that too. And then there's other ways that technology is really helpful. I mean, even right now, we would not be able to do this conversation without technology, right? So it allows us to connect with people in other parts of the world. For all of you who are learning English, technology is a really, really great way for you to immediately have access to English speakers who you can have conversations with, who you can teach Indonesian to. And so it's just a really good way to make the world an easier place to connect with.
So Mary, from your explanation, I got something pops in my head, which is I become question myself, what is the difference between, because we talk about how to build personal branding in the digital era. So my question is, what is the difference between personal branding and online personal branding?
They're basically the same thing, in that just like with the soap example, you're marketing something to somebody else. At the end of the day, that's what branding is. So there's some kind of product, whether yourself or soap or soda or clothes or whatever it is, that you're selling to somebody else. But with the traditional personal branding, it is different from online branding as well. Because with online branding, you do have a much wider audience. And in a way, it's easier to damage your reputation than in the past. So right now in the United States, there are a lot of actors or celebrities, politicians who are damaging their reputation, because people can look at Twitter or other technology and look at things that they said in the past and say 10 years ago, this person said this bad thing, that means they're a bad person. And so social media and the internet allow a lot of things from our past to come forward that would not have come forward in traditional times. So like when our parents were young, they met in traditional ways, and people met face to face, and they had phone as well, but there weren't as many ways to destroy their reputation. So in many ways, people today, we have to be much more careful, but we do have many more opportunities than people in the past. So it's both good and bad at the same time.
Thank you, I got the point.
Thank you.
Hot Daddy bisa nanya, nanti ditranslate.
Ya, Pak Hot Daddy, kalau mau nanya boleh.
Izin tanya.
Laki-laki, kau jangan Sul Azab ini. Saya dulu, Mat. Siapa nih moderatornya? Boleh kah? Mat, moderatornya siapa, Mat?
Ya. Boleh dipersilakan, Kak.
Oh ya, singkat aja sih, Miss. Manggilnya Miss apa Madam ya?
Mary.
Ya, maksudnya Miss Mary atau Madam Mary maksudnya.
Oh, kalau Miss Mary aja bisa.
Siap. Dikit aja sih Miss nih mau nanya. Semuanya ini pertanyaannya kan ini kita judulnya tentang how to build personal dan profesional ya. Nah, untuk membangun itu tuh sebenarnya ini kita karena tantangan zamannya kita di era pandemi yang lebih condong ke digital era seperti Zoom sekarang ini, apa memang mungkin 5-10 tahun ke depan kita akan berhadapan dengan era digital seperti ini, Miss. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih ya. Okay, so I would translate to English for those of us in the conversation who do not speak Indonesian. So the question was, right now we have the pandemic of COVID. And so in what sort of way does this affect this notion of digital branding? And if we have a situation in 5 to 10 years, will the digital branding be different than it is today? So it's a very good question. I think COVID is changing our lives in so many ways that we can't predict. In both the US and Indonesia and all over the world, the way that we do work is different now. The way that we go to school is different. Now in the US, I think around 50% of employees work from home. And even though we don't have lockdown anymore, I think it's going to stay the same. I mean, people are going to continue to work from home. So that means less opportunity to meet people in public, less of the traditional networking, and more of the online branding. So I think if anything, the pandemic will make the online branding even more important than it was in the past in 5 to 10 years. But we will have to wait and see.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Thank you.
Mat, saya mengerti dia mengerti bicara, saya mengerti, Mat, cuman saya bisa Bali, saya lo tahu beta toh.
Dipersilakan.
Izin tanya ya. Halo yang moderator, saya izin tanya ya. Ya.
Iya Kak, dipersilakan Kak.
Thanks for the thanks given to me. First of all, I want to say hello, Mary.
Hello.
Silakan.
Nice to meet you. Because
nice to meet you too.
we have I met you in one event the event was held in Central of Java, and then we went there by bus, and before that we gathered in Jakarta, and I made some chit chat with you, and I want to say sorry about something that until now I still feel that my English still I can improve my skill English my English skill more because I feel that I am a generalist. I know that there are two kind of people. One of the first is the specialist type, and then the second is the generalist. And I feel that myself is I am a generalist person, so I know everything, but I can't I feel this difficult to know more and more. Okay.
Waalaikumsalam.
So sometimes I feel that how to fix my do this I'm sorry how to fix this problem. I think that generalized person it's not a problem, but I think something's else in my mind. There's a problem. There's a problem in my mind. I mean like that. So the question is how fix my problem. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much. And it's so good to see you again. I definitely remember those times. It was really fun. So I think your English is awesome, first of all. So even though you feel like you're not improving, you're really, really great. And you're communicating so well. So don't doubt yourself. Also, I think your comment about generalist versus specialist is really interesting because I think a lot of people think that generalists are not, it's not a good thing to be. But actually, I disagree. I think it's really good to be a generalist and to have a lot of knowledge about lots of different types of things because by being a generalist, you're able to see what you like. So you're able to explore different things that are interesting and then choose the thing that you want to focus on. So maybe for you, I'm not sure, maybe you didn't find the thing you really want to focus on yet, and that's totally fine. But if you weren't a generalist, then maybe you wouldn't have that opportunity to explore. So now that you have those skills in different areas of your life, you can choose one thing and have a little bit more focus there. So it could be anything. It could be computers, or it could be speeches, or it could be teaching, or anything that you want to focus a little bit more energy and start to become more specialized in that area. And then that helps to make you a little bit different from the other people who might be more generalist. But the thing that's really dangerous actually is someone who's only a specialist. Let's say there's someone who only knows about computers, but they're not really good at anything else. If they lose the opportunity to work with computers, then what do they do next? But somebody who's a generalist, they're already halfway there to the next things. So I think it's actually a good thing. And you just want to identify something that you can focus a little bit more on, and that will be fine.
Okay. The next question is I have heard that there is expert generalist. Miss.
Yeah, I think it depends on the field. So for example, I'm in linguistics, right? Linguistics has lots of different areas of study, but you can also be what is called a general linguist. But in order to be an expert general linguist, you have to be very familiar with all of the conversations, all of the articles, everything that's being discussed about that topic. So even though it's general, it becomes specific because you're constantly staying up to date on any of the updates that happen about that topic.
Oh, it's
Okay. Okay, Adam, is it clear enough?
sorry.
I think you got frozen, or maybe it's from my side.
Oh, okay. I said that maybe it will be more difficult.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
it's I think a little more difficult to become a specific generalist. But I think part of it is habit. So if you build your day around habits of reading and keeping up to date on certain topics, then it becomes less overwhelming.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Adam.
I try to fix it. I'm sorry. Can I continue my my question? Hello.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can you hear me?
You can go with the next question.
Okay. I try to fix my problem with some with my I make some schedule like in the morning I have to do something, and then in the afternoon I have to running in the another field. How to say it? Yeah. I hope you understand what I mean. And then in
Yes.
the night, I learn something different of skills maybe. And then what do you think about the apa ya? The manner? How what do you think about the manner? Is the apa ya? Yeah, it is my effort to fix my problem. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to improve yourself, by establishing really, really good habits and doing it regularly throughout the day. Because it's really easy if we don't have habits to just start to become lazy day after day. And maybe if we don't have habits, maybe one day we work really hard the whole day and focus on many things. And then 2 weeks go by and we don't do anything. That's very, very common. But once you have that habit, maybe you wake up, maybe you make coffee, maybe you read the newspaper, or maybe you work for a little while, maybe you do some gardening outside. I think it's really important to have that different structure throughout your day.
Mr.
Okay,
Adam, is it clear enough?
maybe the last. So it's more. It's need more consistency.
Needs more what?
It's more need a consistency.
Yeah. I think setting small goals and building habits around those goals.
Okay. I think it's can my question. Thank you for your answer, Mary, and I hope that one day we can meet face to face, and then we can by directly maybe.
Thank you, Adam.
See
I
you.
hope so too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I think
Okay,
last question, Dewi.
Okay, I think last question. Dewi?
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you. Hello, Miss Mary. I have a
Hello.
question. From your presentation, what I can understand is personal branding is something that you can create and you can change, something like that. And my question is, if it's okay or normal or not if people always change his or their personal branding, and question is, I want to know your experience about personal branding. That's it.
Thank you, Devi. Those are really, really great questions. So the first question was about whether it's good to constantly change our brand. I think no. I think it's okay to change a little bit. All of us change throughout our lives, and you might do different types of jobs. You might have different types of interests over the course of your life. But in terms of the branding, you don't want to change it so much that people think you're always a different person. Because if people think you're always a different person, then maybe it makes it harder to trust you as a person. They don't know how you're going to constantly change. So little ways of changing your branding is fine, changing up colors, things like that. But if one day you say something like expert writing and business coach, and then the next day professional basketball star, and then the next day pro swimmer or something like that, and it's constantly changing, then that might not be the best thing to do. Though one thing you can do is there might be different types of social media where you have slightly different personas or slightly different personalities. So for example, to speak again a little bit about my experience in academia, like as a professor, we have special websites. It's kind of like social media for professors. So there, we don't really talk that much about personal things. It's mostly about publications, what classes we teach, our research interests, and that's it. But then maybe on LinkedIn, there might be a little bit more focus on my work experiences as a whole and not just my experiences in academia, if that makes sense. So sometimes you can have different websites with slightly different versions of yourself almost. And it's also completely normal to have different versions of your CV. So you might have one CV that really emphasizes your skills in a certain area, like teaching, and maybe your other CV emphasizes your skills as a businesswoman, for example. So it's okay for all of us to be a little bit different and to have different areas of interest. You just don't want it to be too different online where it seems like you're constantly changing and can't be trusted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dewi?
Yes.
Okay, well, the education time is answer from Mary. And this is the great discussion I got so far now. You guys are very cooperative. The best question will have some price, which is 2 books and 50,000 rupiah cell phone charge from the committee. Mary, could you choose which is the best question from the participant?
Oh, that's very hard. I think actually I would choose Dewi because I think her question about why can we not just create many different personal brandings is really good.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody else, your questions are good too.
What about me?
You're good too. You're good too.
After the question, I just need the answer.
I just wanna give you information that the gift and also certificate will be sent 2 days. I just wanna give you information that the gift and certificate will be
Everyone, can you hear? Everyone, me?
Siapa? Okay, so stay tuned. Don't leave our group before you got your certificate. Everyone, I'm the league is well to say thank you so much for all the committee as well as the participants that have made this event is really heaven. I hope we can meet in our upcoming webinar next time. Well, I think it's clear enough. Goodbye and see you next time. Always stay healthy, guys. And now, Erna, it's your time.
Well, thank you, Parman, for lead the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to Miss Mary for being informative and interesting presentation, and all participants has been active on this webinar. Hopefully, this webinar will be beneficial for everyone. Thank you very much. Good morning, and audio senorita. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Mary, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's so good to see
Okay.
all of you.
It's good to
Thank
see you
so
too.
much. Thank you, Miss Mary.
For all the participants, do not forget to fill the attend link
I demand
that have been
from
shared
you.
there.
Next time, I want to have a target audience. Thank you, Miss Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Mary, come to my
Thank you, Miss
institute.
Mary.
Oh, was that Ibu?
Thank you, Miss Mary.
Drop into my institution.
Oh, I would love
Mary?
that.
Yeah.
I will wait you here.
Thank you, Miss Mary.
So sorry that I'm busy. I
Okay,
must
Mary,
do
maybe
something
do you
when I
have more time?
hear your voice.
Or
Okay.
do you have any schedule? The other schedule? I mean.
Wait, there's a couple of voices at the same time.
Oh.
Aduh.
Okay.
Mary, I
Sorry,
think
I'm not sure. I heard a voice, but I'm not sure where it was coming from.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
Aya Ibu Shioka.
Yes, I wait you come here in my institution.
Where are you, Ibu?
At Cibedeng UD, Miss Mary.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I can. Yeah. My video is something wrong.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I hope we can meet.
I have a question, but I don't know about target audience. Yeah, target audience is what is we must have professional. Yeah, but what must I do for I have a good target audience? That is my question.
How to
Because
get.
I always upset with target audience. Thank you, Miss Mary.
Yes, it's a good question. It can be really difficult to identify our target audience. I think one thing is you want it to be the audience that you want to impress. So for teachers, for example, maybe the target audience is other teachers or other schools. And so who we are and what kind of job we do determines who our target audience is going to be. And even though you're impressing your target audience, you also want to be true to yourself and be true to your own interests. So you don't have to lie to impress the target audience or do things that you don't want to do. It's just about identifying the people that you are really marketing yourself to. Does that make sense?
Okay. And how I get an opportunity to have an target audience?
So with the target audience, everybody has a target audience just naturally by being human. So anyone who might look at your Facebook or your Instagram, in a way, they are your target audience. But let's say that you want to build a professional profile like LinkedIn, then you might be thinking about the types of people that you want to add your profile there. So maybe other teachers or administrators, other institutions. And so you can actually go and find those people and add them as well. But once they start adding you, their friends will see, and it will build up a bigger target audience.
Yes, I like your shop, Miss Mary. I interested your shop. May I have it?
The slide?
Okay, yes, I like it.
Yes, you may have the slides. Is that what you said? The slides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will write my email here. And anyone who wants the slides can email me and I will send you the slides, okay? I'm writing my email in the chat.
The slides will be shared on our WhatsApp there.
Oh, okay, good. Perfect. Okay.
I think this is enough, Mary. If you still have more time to talk with the people, it's up to you. But if you still have something to do else in your schedule, you may left the group now. But for me, I deeply thanks for everything, Mary.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I will leave now because here it's nighttime. But I'm so happy to see all of you, and I hope all of you have a beautiful day and that we get to meet again.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Come to Indonesia and we go to Al Kafi again.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, Mary, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
I'll be waiting for you, Mary. Tutup lagi. Ele.
Hot Daddy.
Kamu kenapa, Kak?
Ya Allah, Hot Daddy keren banget.
Oh, iya.
Kak Adam kapan masaknya? Dari tadi ini iris-iris terus.
Saya masuk. Saya masuk. Orang super itu thanks for attention. Aduh, laki-laki.
Kak Adam.
Itu dia screen share tuh, Mat, sampai thanks for your attention.